Well, good morning, everybody. This is Chris Blackwell, and I'm honored today to be the commentator on the 2014 U.S. Para Rowing Trials for crews that are interested in participating in the 2014 World Championships later on in Amsterdam, Holland. We have 4 races today, and while we deal with a slight technical issue at the start, I'll just let you know what the races are. The very first race is going to be arms and shoulders only for women in the single. So arm and shoulders, women's single. There'll be 4 boats. Lane 1 will be Capital Rowing Club from DC, Dana Fink. In lane 2, Caitlin Stanky from Community Rowing in Boston. Lane 3, Margaret Strand from Alabama. And in lane 4, Sophia Korak from Capital in DC. So that'll be the first race. What happened at the start a few moments ago is that one of the fingers that extends out at the start line into the lane broke loose. So that's being recaptured. And so the start will be a little tiny bit delayed for that reason. Let me just explain a little bit something about the classifications in what was adaptive rowing, now known as para rowing. Known as para rowing because it's now part of the Paralympics, ever since 2008. But there's a very complicated, complex classification system for para rowers, and arms and shoulders only means that there's no trunk involved in propelling the boat, just the arms and the shoulders. The athletes are strapped across their chests and across their waists so that they cannot use their trunk if they have in the first place use of the trunk, but it's arms and shoulders only. There will be another arms and shoulders only for men final following this first race. I'll give you the lineup for that in due course. And then there are 2 other races today. Well, they're races actually just time trials because there's only one competitor in each category. But one is the trunk and arms mixed double, which is a para event. And then this year, an unusual event in that it's a first time for legs, trunk and arms mixed double. So those will be the 4 races. Some history about para rowing, formerly adaptive rowing, and before that, disabled rowing. Started in the United States in about 1981. The first program, formal program to found, was the Philadelphia Rowing Program for the Disabled. And over the years, the terminology has changed. The classification system has become much more complex. Para rowing is now a seriously regulated sport and growing by leaps and bounds. The very fact that we have 10 crews out today for various different classifications is a small indicator of that, because of course these athletes are the top of the peak in terms of their skill set. So it looks as though we've got a start going. All right, so just once again, the lineup. Lane 1 is Dana Fink from Capital. Lane 2, Caitlin Stanky from Community Rowing in Boston. Lane 3, Margaret Strand from Alabama. And in lane 4, Sophia Korak from Capital, Washington. So let me see if I can give you an indication of the stroke rate that these athletes are rowing. It'll take me 5 strokes to get that. So it looks like Sophia Korak's rate is 46 strokes a minute. That's a pretty good clip. Now what happens is in rowing, and I'm sure it's true of para rowing just as it is for mainstream rowing, that there's a huge effort off the start. Heart beats going right up to the limit off the start line within the first 45 seconds to 1 minute. And then there's a settling, and the race proceeds, and there's always a significant sprint at the end of the race if it's close. Right now, it looks as though we have Escala clearly leading the field. It looks as though it's lane 2. That would be Caitlin Stanky from Community Rowing, rowing very strongly. Second place is lane 1. That's Dana Fink from Capital in DC. I'll get you a stroke rating on Dana in a minute. Dana's now rowing at a 37.5, so you can see that the race has settled a little bit. But here's Sophia Korak. Oh, see, lane 4. Oh, yes, lane 4. That was Sophia Korak. And lane 3 is oh, wait a minute. We've got a, let's see. Oh, yes, a red boat. So in the red boat, just for future reference, is Margaret Strand from Alabama. And right now, Margaret is seems to be bringing up the tail end of the race. But it's early days yet. You just don't know what's going to happen. You never can assume anything in a rowing race. It's never over till it's over. But we've got quite a spread in the field already, it looks to me, and it does look as though the two top contenders are lane 2, Caitlin Stanky, and lane 1, Dana Fink from Capital. I don't have biographical details on Caitlin, but I do have some information on Dana Fink, and I'll just see if I can bring that up. Yes, Dana Fink, birthplace Atlanta, Georgia, hometown Washington, D.C., current residence Washington, D.C., and club affiliation Capital Rowing Club. Began rowing in 2011. She's 5'3" and weighs 110 pounds. She works professionally in the area of non-profit disability rights. She's training right now at the Anacostia Community Boathouse in Washington, D.C., and her current coaches are Bridget Myers and Nathan Ballou. And she has been on the national team once in 2013 as the arms and shoulders only single sculler. So she's defending a title with these trials as well. But lane 2, Caitlin Stanky, is rowing very strongly and appears to have a pretty commanding lead at this point. So we are probably coming up somewhere towards the 750 mark. So they have literally 250 meters to go, and I can see Caitlin taking her stroke rate up a little bit, sprinting for the end of the race. Let me just get a read on what she's doing. 2, 3, 4, 5. She's at a 41.5. So she's definitely raised her game as she comes up into the last 200 meters of the race. And we're panning back across the field. I'm looking at lane 1, which is Capital, Dana Fink. And we'll see what Dana's striking. I bet you she's sprinting for the line as well. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Oh, I didn't get that. Sorry, the watch wasn't working properly. All right, we're looking right now at the far side of the course. It looks like it's lane 4. It's a white boat, and that is Sophia Korak, also of Capital, a teammate of Dana's. So we've got a Capital in lane 1, Capital in lane 4, and Caitlin Stanky in lane 2, and Margaret Strand from Alabama in a red boat in lane 3. And right now, yes, it looks as though there's a very commanding lead for Caitlin Stanky in lane 2. All right, so the race continues. Caitlin is... Okay, 41 strokes per minute still. And here comes the finish line. So Caitlin is very close to crossing the line. And the shot from the chase boat is not quite right across the course, but my prediction is that Caitlin is going to cross the line pretty darn soon. Here comes Dana. And the launch is pretty much now parallel across the course, looking at the buoys. And here we go. The red buoy is just a few meters after the finish. And We have, I think, the first two scullers across the line. Yes, Dana has crossed the line. Now we're waiting for the other two boats in the race. Here comes lane 4, Sofia Korak. Sophia was rowing at a 38. There she goes. The flag about to drop. So we've got 3 across, and then we're looking for the other boat in the race, Margaret Strand of Alabama, who's a while back. Camera's panning around to find Margaret. And here she comes. Margaret sculling at a 37. If you look at the rig in her boat, you'll see that she's sitting on a very special seat, and you will notice that there's only minimal movement of the upper part of her body. She's got a strap just above her waistline that holds her trunk in contact with the seat, so all she can do is reach with her shoulders a tiny bit and pull with her arms. So this is very challenging, and you can imagine the muscle burn that's going on in those arms as these boats come down the course. So a little history on para rowing. The first year that it participated in the World Championships, the FISA International Rowing Federation World Championships, was 2002. And the first year that that rowing was in the Paralympic Games was in Beijing in 2008. So there's already quite a few years of history involved in para rowing, and it's very interesting to see how the sport is growing, and the prediction is it's going to get even bigger with the wounded warriors, a certain number of them perhaps deciding that rowing is going to be their sport. So right now we're looking at 2 boats on the course. So everybody's done, the race is done. Yeah, the next race will be the men's single. I'll give you the lineup for that. This is the arms and shoulders only for men single final. In lane 1 we'll have from Capital Adaptive, S. Franks. I only have initials here, so with the exception of a couple of the athletes. In lane 2 is an unaffiliated boat, B. Haxton. Lane 3 is MedStar Paralympic, Daniel R. from Washington, D.C. And in lane 4, Long Beach, Ron Harvey. And I have to tell you that lanes 3 and 4 are the ones that are known quantities. They're both very accomplished scullers. We'll wait and see if there's a surprise in lane 1 and lane 2 in terms of challenging to them. But basically in lane 3, MedStar Paralympic, Daniel R., he was the representative last year at the World Rowing Championships in Seoul, Korea. And in lane 4 is Ron Harvey, who's been on the team multiple times, took a year or so off, just got back in again, got the juices flowing again, got the enthusiasm back. So Ron is going to see if he can beat last year's national team representative in the form of Daniel R. So it'll be before the race. We're looking for Ron and Daniel to duke it out, but let's see. We could have a surprise in lanes 1 or 2. Okay, I'm going to take a little break now while the crews get lined up for race 2. Well, here we are underway with race 2 at the 2014 U.S. Para Rowing Trials, selecting crews for potential participation in the 2014 World Rowing Championships in Amsterdam. The event we're looking at right now is the arms and shoulders only for men in the single. And there are 4 participants in the race. In lane 1 we have from Capital Adaptive, S. Franks. In lane 2 we have an unaffiliated boat, B. Haxton. In lane 3 we have MedStar Paralympic, Daniel R. And in lane 4, Long Beach rowing, Ron Harvey. So the race is the early stages of the race, and so there's pretty good race across the course. The Star Spangled Banner is just crossing the screen. Ah, here we go. And it looks to me as though lane 3 may have a slight edge at this point, duking it out with lane 4. But lane 1 is also sculling very strongly. That's S. Franks from Capital. So, yes, a very good race already developing with Daniel R. And, let me see, that's lane 2. Could be B. Haxton. Let's see. Over in the lane 4 is Ron Harvey, a multiple representative. Lane 2 is leading at this point, and that is B. Haxton, unaffiliated, USA. So he's a relative unknown quantity, you might say, since we don't have a lot of history on him. Now you can clearly see in his case where the strap is across his chest, anchoring his trunk and torso to the boat. So all he can use is his shoulders and arms. And he's sculling very confidently. You'll notice little pontoons on the side of the boat. These boats are tippy, and there are many para-athletes, in fact it's mandated internationally that they have the pontoons, whether they need them or not, just as a safety feature. Because if you do flip a boat like this, not that we hope that this happens at all, anytime, let alone in a trials race, but the fact is that there is quite an extrication process involved in getting a para rower out of the boat if they flip. There's a safety launch out there, and they would be on the spot real quickly if that happened. Right now we're looking at lane 1, which is Capital Adaptive, S. Franks. And you can see the referee boats following, making sure that everybody stays, doesn't interfere with anybody else by crossing lanes. It is actually okay to cross a lane, provided you don't interfere with somebody, but generally speaking, it's a good idea to stay in your racing lane. So, it looks as though we have a very interesting situation. The race is being led by, it seems like it's lane 2, and that is B. Haxton, unaffiliated, so have no information on where he comes from or anything about him, but I will say this, he's a very smooth sculler, and you can see how that boat is just keeping moving between the strokes. There's no check in its progress, and so he's a very efficient sculler. So as much as this is a sport that where physicality and physical strength is a big factor, the fact is that you also got to be efficient if you're going to be really good. And here we are at the 750. The 750 mark already got crossed, so we have about 250 meters to go in the race. And we're looking over right now at lane 4, which is Ron Harvey. And Ron has quite a history. He has been in he's represented the United States numerous times in the arms and shoulders single. Finished 8th in the adaptive singles at the 212 Para Games, finished 9th in the adaptive singles in the 2010 World Rowing Championships, and going back to 2004, he won bronze in the adaptive singles sculls at the 2004 World Rowing Championships. So he has a pretty good racing pedigree, but he's got his work cut out for him today, I have to say, by this unaffiliated rower, B. Haxton. Daniel R. Here we come, and we're getting close to the finish line, and barring any other eventuality, it looks as though B. Haxton has already crossed the line. Ron Harvey will be coming up. There he comes. There comes Ron. He's currently living in Long Beach, California, And his coach today is Jeff McGinnis, who is the executive director of Pennsylvania Center for Adapted Sports in Philadelphia. Longtime team manager for the para rowing team. And coming across the line now in third place is a red boat, and that is lane 3, and that is Daniel R. And finally in lane 1, we have Capital Adaptive S. Franks. So that pretty much concludes the Arms and Shoulders men's single final. I don't know whether I will have available the official times and the official results, but certainly not while the other competitions are taking place. But maybe at the end of this broadcast we'll get some information that we can give you on times and other statistics. Well, that was an interesting race, and as I said, you can always expect a surprise, and indeed there was a surprise in terms of B. Haxton's known rowing prowess, but he certainly sculled very, very efficiently in that race, and a creditable win, subject to confirmation. Okay, off the air for a second or two while we regroup. Just to let you know that what we're going to be looking at next are 2 time trials, single boat entries, so they're racing against the clock really to see if they can do a personal best. There's a nice little breeze going at Lake Mercer this morning. It looks like it's a following breeze, which is helpful to the athletes, and so it's a beautiful day, and it looks as though these trials are certainly being rowed on a fair course under fair conditions for all of the athletes. So just to give you a preview before we sign off for a minute or two, the next event will be the trunk and arms mixed double, and that will involve from Community Rowing in Boston, Jaden Thonis and Callum Borchers. So that'll be the next race, and then finally we can expect a leg trunk and arms mixed double final involving Andrew Johnson and Stephanie Cox. But as I said, both of these boats will be rowing solo down the course. It's really just a time trial format for them, since they have no formal opposition. And it'll be interesting to see the difference between, we've already seen 2 races where it's arms and shoulders only. Next race we're going to look at, we'll be looking at a boat where they can use their trunk and arms. And finally, we'll see leg trunks and arms, and we'll see the contrast in speed, rowing technique, etc. So, signing off until we can regroup for race number 3 at the 2014 U.S. Rowing Para Rowing Trials at Lake Mercer, beautiful Lake Mercer, outside of, let me see, where are we? Princeton, New Jersey. All right, we're back on the air at Princeton, New Jersey, on beautiful Lake Mercer, and we're looking at the third of 4 races or trials events in the para category of U.S. rowing. Para rowing has been part of the World Championships, the International World Championships, since 2002, and has been part of the Olympics, the Paralympics, since 2008, Beijing. This is a time trial, so there's only one boat in the race. The lineup is, by the way, the boat comes from Community Rowing in Boston, and in bow is Jaden Thonis, and in stroke is Callum Borchers. And we're looking at the trunk and arms single. We just saw a couple of races where it's arms and shoulders only. Now you can see athletes who are able to put some trunk power, i.e. back muscles, lower back muscles, added to the drive. And so not only can they row the boat faster, but they're allowed to use, have more functional use of their upper extremity. So you can see the pontoon on the side of the boat, mandatory under international rowing rules for paras. And sculling along very strongly. I'll try to get a stroke rate for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, rowing at a 35 or so, 35 and a little bit. The stroke rating is a little lower than it was for the arms and shoulders only, as you might expect. They can cover a little more ground per stroke, and on the other hand, they're still looking for a nice rhythm, and they're trying to time the entry exactly together. Now we're focusing on Jaden Thonis in the bow seat, and now we're looking at Callum Borchers in stroke. Now these athletes have a strap around below their waists, so they can't use their legs if they have use of the legs at all. There's some very strict rules as to what you can use under the various different classifications in para rowing. So they're sculling very strongly and proceeding down the course fairly well. And here we are at the 750 mark. So they've got 250 to go. Jaden just taking a little look around to get the lie of the land. And they're getting a little wild and crazy here, but that's expected. They're trying to race, they're trying to do a personal best. So they've got everything on the end of those sculls. Just look at them pull. Just look at Jaden go there. Well, both of them actually. Callum Borchers also. And you can see the effect of all of the exertion. Rowing is a very physical sport, and so they are putting everything they know how onto the end of those blades at this point. And when you get a little tired, you can get a little ragged. You've got to be able to hold it together all the way through. And now they've raised their stroke rating significantly as they come to the line. You can see a yellow flag across the course. When that drops, we know they've crossed the line. Oops, there it goes out of the picture. But they've got to be there within a stroke or two, and they must be over the line very soon. Yes, they just crossed. And you can see that they are just a little bit puffed at this point. They'll recover quickly, though. They've been training hard for this. So there you have it. That was the event number 10. Officially, the third of 4 races today for para athletes on Lake Mercer, New Jersey. Trunk and arms mixed double final, and the crew was again from Community Rowing in Boston. Jaden Thonis in the stroke seat, in the bow seat, and Callum Borchers in stroke. So there we have it. There's one more race today, but we'll wait and take a little break here while everybody gets resorted and while the camera boat goes back to the start. And so be back in a few moments. All right, here we are back on the air again at Lake Mercer, New Jersey, and I have some results for the first two races. The very first race of the day was the arms and shoulders for women, single, and it was won by Caitlin Stanke from Community Rowing in a time of 6:03.84. Again, 6:03.84. Second place went to Dana Fink from Capital Rowing in DC in 6:37.82. 6:37.82. Third place went to Sophia Korak of Capital in a time of 7:11.59. Once again, 7:11.59. And fourth place, Margaret Strand from Alabama in 8:19.49. 8:19.49. That was the women's single final. All right, now I have the results also for the second race of the day, which was the arms and shoulders only single for men. That race was won by B. Haxton, unaffiliated sculler, in a time of 5:14.41. That's 5:14.41. Second place went to Ron Harvey from Long Beach, you might say a veteran performer in this race in more than one sense, and his time was 5:34.94. So Ron's time again, 5:34.94. Third place went to Daniel R. from MedStar Paralympic in DC, and his time was 6:06.59. 6:06.59. And fourth place went to Capital Adaptive S. Franks, 6:07.59. Again, 6:07.59. So what we saw there was a race for first place between two boats, namely B. Haxton and Ron Harvey, and then a really close race for third. There's only a second, exactly a second between the two, between Daniel R. in 6:06.59 and Stuart Franks, S. Franks, I don't know his first name for sure, from Capital Adaptive. So just goes to show that rowers are always competitive, no matter where they are in the race. All right, we're looking now at the leg, trunk, and arms mixed double, and this is a crew from Community Rowing in Boston. We have Andrew Johnson and Stephanie Cox are in the boat. And so we're already now at about the 750 mark. So this is another time trial, actually. And you can see how these athletes are able to use all of their legs, bodies, and arms. So the boat moves quite a bit more up and down in the water, as you can see, as the bodies shift position in the boat. And you can see they cover more reach with each stroke. And this is a very good-looking double. Oh, here they are. They just crossed the line. So we'll be getting their times pretty soon, I'm sure.
Stay with them.
All right. So that concludes the racing for today. That was a time trial. And as soon as we have some information and results, we'll let you know. So, signing off briefly and awaiting some official results. Here we are at Lake Mercer. The Paralympic trial races are done, and as soon as we have the results for the last two time trials, we will let you have them. Here is an official result for the third race, which was a time trial. The trunk and arms mixed double from Community Rowing in Boston, Jaden Thonis and Callum Borchers. Their time over the 1,000 meters was 5:11.15. 5:11.15. It'll be interesting to see the difference between their race and the fourth race time trial. We do not have that yet, but as soon as we have it, we'll give it to you. Well, here we have the final, the result of the final time trial in the para rowing trials for 2014 U.S. rowing. CRI from Boston, the crew was Andrew Johnson and Stephanie Cox in the leg, trunk and arms mixed double final, and their time was 4 minutes 05.92. 4:05.92. Well, this concludes the racing today and the broadcast. You'll be able to see this on YouTube, so have fun looking at all these races one more time. It's been a pleasure to do the commentary for you. This is Chris Blackwell signing off. Have a good day, everybody.